In this video, this is going to be a giant video of green bean casseroles. So what the deal was is we did a review on these French fried onions to see which brand had the best French fried onions. And we had maybe 5 varieties in there. The Kroger brand was our favorite. So we will be using the Kroger brand French fried onions in the recipes that require them. We will also be using Campbell's cream and mushroom soup in the recipes that require it. And the green beans, each recipe is going to have Del Monte green beans. We use the cut green beans. This is a 14.5 ounce can. And we wanted the green beans to be on a level playing field, so we bought the exact same green beans for every recipe. What I did was I went to the internet and I picked out 4 recipes that I thought everyone would be interested in. I got the OG French's green beans. French's is the brand. We did review those with these onions, and honestly, the Kroger ones were better. The French's were some of our least favorite, but they have the recipe for green bean casserole that a lot of people use, so we're going to go by their recipe. We're also going to be, I chose Paula Deen. A lot of chefs, cooks have their own recipes for green bean casserole. Paula Deen sounded really good to me and easy to follow, so we're going to be doing hers. And then I found one on All Recipes. I did a search for what's the best green bean casserole. So allrecipes.com has their own recipe. And then I wanted one recipe to be just a little bit different than the other ones. So I went to Williams Sonoma. Williams Sonoma has the ultimate green bean casserole with crispy fried shallots. So this is the only recipe where we will not be using the canned French fried onions. So my goal is to see, is doing it the long way with worth the effort rather than using the French fried onions in all these other ones. Because the thing that the French's, the Paula Deen, and the All Recipes has in common, these all use cream and mushroom, these all use French fried onions. The Williams Sonoma does not use cream and mushroom or French fried onions. So we are going to make it easier for you all. We're going to work on one recipe at a time. That way, hopefully I can put a timestamp down in the description of the video. If you're interested in the Williams Sonoma video, you'll click on this time, and then so on and so forth, so that you can watch us make each green bean casserole. So we have all the ingredients out here for the Williams Sonoma. And so we will go over those right now. Or I'm going to actually let Kevin go over those right now.
I could just cut them.
Okay.
So for the fried shallots, for just the topping basically, we've got canola oil for frying. You just need enough to fry them in a pan of some kind. You need a 1/2 cup of all-purpose flour. You need kosher salt and pepper, just basically salt and pepper to taste. A pinch of cayenne pepper, we're just using that brand, the Private Selection brand. And you need 6 large shallots. So we're gonna...
There's 3 in each one.
Yeah, that's the ones we're gonna use. And those are gonna be sliced into thin rings, which I'll do off camera. And then, cause yeah, you don't want that all that time. Then we have a tablespoon of canola oil. This is for the casserole itself. So once you fried your onions, these are separate. So you need 1 tablespoon of canola oil. You need 2 tablespoons of unsalted butter. You need a pound of... They're basically the mushrooms, the baby bella and the cremini and the portobello mushrooms. I looked it up. They said they're basically all the same. So so that's what they had at our Kroger. So that's what we got. You need a 1/4 cup of finely chopped shallots. So we have another 2 there. That should give us 2 pretty good sized ones. Should give us another 1/4 cup. And then we need a 1/4 cup of all-purpose flour. 1 cup of chicken stock, and we're just using the Great Value reduced sodium chicken broth because you don't need extra salt. 1 cup of heavy cream, that's also Great Value. And then you need 2 cans of the green beans. And then you need more just salt and pepper to taste. So,
now, I do have to say, Williams Sonoma would like for you to use fresh green beans.
They actually say 2 pounds of green beans trimmed and blanched.
But we wanted to make it fair with at least the green beans. We wanted all the green beans to be the same.
And that's it. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to cut the 6 shallots into rings. And I'm going to finally chop those shallots and then we'll be back. Okay, I've got a pan. I've got about 1 inch of oil in there, just enough to fry the onions in. It's heated up. It should be about 300 to 350. If you have a deep fryer, use a deep fryer. If I had a deep fryer, that's what I would do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add to a bowl. Make sure it's big enough to put your flour and your salt and pepper and stuff and some of your onions in. So I'm going to add my flour, my cayenne, and I'm just going to sprinkle some pepper in here. And give me a little bit of this kosher salt. I'm just going to mix this up a little bit. And then you can see I've got my shallots are all sliced into rings. And I kind of took my hands and broke them up the best I could. So I'm just going to do small batches. You're not going to do tons of these at one time. So you want to coat them. And then I'm going to put these, shake off the excess flour, and I'm going to drop it in the pan. And I'm going to fry them until they're brown, and then take them out and put it on a plate with some paper towels. There's all my shallots all fried up. Be careful when you're cooking these. Don't let them get too dark. I have some that are really dark, and they're a little bit more bitter than the lighter ones. So make sure you don't get them overly cooked. That's what I'm saying. So, and when you come out, as they're coming out, when you first take them out of the pan, sprinkle a little salt on them because the salt will stick to the oil, and that way they just taste better. So the onions, they say they're sliced onions, mushrooms. They're really thick. I mean, look how thick and big that mushroom is right there. So we don't want these huge mushrooms in here. It doesn't really say, it just says sliced mushrooms. So I'm going to take them and I'm just going to make them a little bit smaller for us because even that's probably a little too big. I'm going to make them like that size and I'll be back. So I'm going to cut all these up. It's a pound. It's going to take me a minute, but I'm going to slice all these up. All right, so the first thing I'm gonna do is, first of all, I chopped up all my mushrooms. That's a lot of mushrooms. I'm gonna take my oil. I've got a big, like a saute pan here. I don't know if it's technically a saute pan, but that's what we're gonna call it. So there's a pan. So I'm gonna let this melt. I'm gonna add my mushrooms to it and we're gonna cook those up, but I'll be right back to show that step. Okay, you can see my butter is melted and butter's all melted, it's all heated up. So I'm just gonna basically dump my mushrooms in here and stir, coating them and cook them until they're softened. It says it takes about, till they're browned, about 6 to 8 minutes. Okay, it's been 8 minutes and they look really good and brown. They smell wonderful to me. Tammy says they smell awful. But anyway, I'm gonna take the shallots. This is a 1/4 of a cup of finely chopped shallots. This is actually only one of the two. We put aside 2 to chop. I actually chopped 2 of them up, but we ended up having one that we didn't need. So we're just saving it for later. We just mixed it in with our other onions, honestly.
So 1 shallot is a
1 shallot, fine. Okay. So dump those in there, turn your heat down to about medium, and this is just gonna cook for about a minute or 2 until the shallots are softened a little bit. So you can see our shallots are pretty, I mean, you can't hardly even see them. They're in there, but they're kind of cleared up. So now I'm gonna add the flour. This is the step I'm not quite sure about, but it says add the flour and then let it cook for, I'm gonna stir it up, but then let it cook for about a minute until it becomes fragrant. I don't know what that means, but we're gonna go for it. So that's what I'm gonna do now. Okay, so now it says to add your chicken stock and it says stir constantly. So will you hold the handle there, camera person? And then once I get this all stirred up, then I'm going to add my cream the same way. I'm just going to stir it. this has to, it says let it come to a simmer and then let it simmer for, till it thickens about 3 to 4 minutes. And it's already starting to bubble a little bit, so it's probably gonna be about 3 or 4 minutes until it thickens up. Okay, it looks wonderful. Really good and thick mushroom soup, basically, cream of mushroom. So I'm gonna add my green beans now. Just dump the cans in there. They are drained. We did drain the liquids off of them, so you don't want all that juice in there, because that would just thin out your thick cream, right? So I'm gonna stir this in really good, and I am gonna put some salt and pepper just to taste. Now, since we're doing multiple recipes, I'm gonna tell you what we're gonna do. First of all, the recipe says you can put this directly in the oven. Sprinkle the onions over top of this if it's an oven ready pan, saute pan, you can literally just put this right in the oven with the onion stuff on top and bake it. You don't have to move it to a casserole dish. We are moving it to a casserole dish. It's a 9x13, we call it a lasagna pan. It has been buttered, so we're gonna butter the pan. And since we're doing multiple recipes, we are not going to put the onions on yet. We will put the onions on once we're ready to do all the recipes, or all the dishes at the same time. I'm just gonna give that a good sprinkling of salt, give it a good shake of pepper.
But if you're not worried about being fancy, you can definitely just bake it right in this pan.
Yeah,
if you're making it for like Thanksgiving, then you probably want to put it in a casserole dish.
Okay, so I'm gonna transfer this over to our lasagna pan. Do you want to switch your sides?
And we just took butter and just rubbed the butter.
Yeah, just like you would a cake pan.
Yes. And the other recipes should go quick. It should be quick to assemble them.
Yeah, so this won't have time to get cold or anything.
Right.
We just don't want to put the onions on first because we don't want them to get soggy or anything.
So we're gonna make the French's green bean casserole next. The French's, like I said at the very beginning, is the original green bean casserole. You need 1 can of Campbell's cream of mushroom soup. You need 3/4 cup milk, 1/8 teaspoon of black pepper, 2 cans of the Del Monte green beans, and you want to drain them, drain the juice, the water out of them. And then you need your can of your French fried onions. So you want to combine your cream of mushroom soup, your milk, and your pepper. Now you want to stir in the 2 cans of green beans. And then this is the part of the recipe that I do not agree with, but it's the original, so we're gonna try it their way. Everybody has told me, do not put the French fried onions in with the casserole because they get soggy. But this is the way French's has you do it, so I'm gonna follow their directions. So you want to take 2/3 cup of the French fried onions, and it does not have to be exact, of course. And mix this in. Stir it in. And then I have a greased, I just sprayed vegetable spray in a casserole dish. And so I'm gonna add this to my casserole dish. And then, like Kevin said earlier, we are not adding any of the French fried onions to the top of
this one you bake without them anyway.
Ah, okay, okay. You bake them without?
That's what it says.
Interesting.
And then you add the topping after you baked them.
Interesting, okay. So, this is how it looks when it goes in the oven. So we will give you the oven times once we get them all made and together. We'll give you the times they need to go in the oven. But now we'll move on to the next recipe. So now we are going to be making Paula Deen's green bean casserole. And for this one, you need 1 pinch of Paula Deen's house seasoning. Well, I looked it up. If you don't have Paula Deen's house seasoning, which I don't, it's a pinch. You want to use a pinch of garlic powder, onion powder, salt, and pepper. So we have that right here. It's just a pinch of each of those things. You need 1 2.8 ounce can of French fried onion rings. So this is a lot more than what we'll be using in this can. You need a can of cream of mushroom soup, 3 cups of chicken broth, 2 cups of sliced green beans. We're using 2 cans of sliced green beans. You need a half cup of sliced, she says fresh mushrooms. We're taking a hand from Green Giant, and I drained the juice from the mushrooms and the green beans. You need half a cup of diced onions, a 1/3 stick of butter, and 1 cup of grated cheddar cheese. So the first thing you're gonna do is you want to melt the butter in a skillet. And once you melt the butter, you're gonna see us add the onions and the mushrooms. So I'm gonna put this in here and let it start to melt. But what you can be doing in the meantime while that's melting is you can be taking your green beans and you wanna put them in a pan. And to that, you want to add your 3 cups of your chicken broth. And you want to let this start to boil on your stove. My butter's melted, so now I want to add my onions and my mushrooms. And then once our green beans start boiling, those are going to boil for 10 minutes. So now you want to, basically everything but the cheese is going to go in your casserole. You have a greased casserole dish. I use vegetable spray. Those green beans that you boiled in chicken stock, you drain it. You drain the chicken stock. So I'm assuming, she did not say use fresh green beans. I'm assuming she's using fresh green beans. You probably didn't even have to do that step for the ones we're using, but we did. So, because I'm sure they'll have some sort of chicken flavor. So the mushrooms in the oven, and the onion, we let the onions get tender and they're cooked. So I'm adding that. And then I'm gonna add the house blend, the cheap house blend, and the cream of mushroom soup and the onions. We actually weighed, Kevin can show you the plate. We actually weighed the onions out on the scale, and this is 2.8 ounces of the French fried onions. And once again, you're not going to add those to the top. You're gonna actually add those to the casserole itself. And so this one is different because to the top of this one, you're going to add your cup of cheddar cheese.
Yeah, after it bakes.
After it bakes, yes. Don't add it now, after it bakes. So we have our Williams Sonoma, our French's, and our Paula Deen. The only one that gets a topping right now is the Williams Sonoma. So all of those shallots that Kevin made, I'm just gonna dump them and then I'll spread them. It's just easier that way. Dump them and then spread them out. So we have our oven preheated. It's 350 degrees. These are all 3 of these are gonna be in the oven a total of 30 minutes. But the Paula Deen is gonna go in for 20 minutes, and then we're gonna add our cheese, and then it is gonna bake for an additional 10 minutes. The French's, you do not add the onions until it is completely baked for 30 minutes. So we have 30 minutes, 30 minutes, 20, add cheese, and then 10 more minutes. So these will all come out in 30 minutes. So lastly, we're gonna make the recipe from All Recipes. This is called Best Green Bean Casserole from All Recipes. For this one, you need 2 cans of green beans drained, once again. You need 1 10.5 ounce can of the cream of mushroom soup, 1 cup of cheddar cheese divided, so it's
2 half cups.
2 half cups, yeah. And then you need a 6 ounce can of the French fried onions. So the first thing you're gonna do is you're going to take your green beans and your cream of mushroom soup, and you're gonna put them in a microwave safe bowl. So stir this together, and then you're gonna microwave this on high for 3 to 5 minutes until it's warm. This bowl is gonna be very hot out of the microwave, so just make sure you're ready to use a pot holder. You wanna take 1 of your half cups of cheese and stir it in, and then we're gonna put this back in the microwave for 2 to 3 minutes. So we're gonna take this and dump it into I've greased the pan with vegetable spray. Then you want to take your whole can of onions, and I'm just gonna dump it and then spread it out. It's just easier. Spread it out like this. And because you've already gotten this hot, you don't have to bake it as long. So now you want to take your other half cup of cheese and sprinkle it on top of your onions. And this is only going to bake for 10 minutes. It's been 20 minutes, so Paula Deen's is getting the cheese on top.
Cheese treatment.
The cheese, yes, I'm gonna spread it out a little bit. And then my new recipe, my newest one from All Recipes, is gonna go in, and all 4 only need 10 more minutes and they'll be finished. Okay, so this is all 4 of the casseroles. This is the French's one, and this is the only one that gets a topping after it bakes. So we're just gonna take all those and sprinkle them on top. We're gonna go, I'm gonna dish some out for us. This is the Williams Sonoma. And we're just gonna put it on a, like a little dessert plate, because it's just Kevin and I trying it right now just to see which is the best. So that's how that looks. And then set that there. And then this one is the French's here in the back. I want to make sure I get some of those onions on top. A good amount of that. This one is the All Recipes. Just like that. And then this one is the Paula Deen. Very cheesy looking. There we go. Okay, here we go. I have my sleeves pulled up because I've been washing all those dishes.
She's ready, is what it is.
All those dishes have to be washed. Okay.
Push these forward a little bit.
So we're gonna try them in the order we made them. So the first one is gonna be the Williams Sonoma. The Williams Sonoma, I can just tell you, has a ton of mushrooms, as you saw.
It's a lot of mushrooms. You have to really like mushrooms.
Yes, you do.
It's also not as like creamy. It doesn't have as much of the cream in there. It doesn't look like it's coated well, but it doesn't have a lot of the liquid in there.
Now I'm gonna make sure I get green bean and a mushroom.
Oh yeah.
So it's taking me a minute, sorry.
No, take your time.
Okay.
I'm just gonna pick it up. I don't think you could avoid a mushroom if you tried it.
It's hard to believe. They have these things. I was this old when I had green bean casserole.
It's very good. I like the flavor. It's very mushroomy though.
It is very mushroomy. It's very it's very creamy. Very creamy. It's thick. I think the flavors that stand out to me the most are the shallots and the mushrooms.
Yeah, the mushrooms for sure is like one of the strongest flavors.
The green beans are to add bulk.
Yeah, they're a very minor flavor.
They're to add bulk.
But I love the texture. The texture is it's a thicker cream though, so it's a very thick dish.
Yeah, so it's going to be interesting to try these.
It'll be filling, that's for sure.
Okay, yes. So is this the next one that we did?
No, we did French's next.
French's. Okay, so the French's.
It's the goopiest. It's the most liquidy.
Yes, it has the most liquid, and it's the one that told you wanted to put the onions in it, but you also sprinkled it on top. Yeah, so.
I tell you what, the aftertaste though from the first one is oniony.
It is onion. Those shallots.
The shallots really made an onion kind
Yes.
of flavor.
Okay, I want to get a crisp
sure
one
you get a
from the
crisp one.
top too.
The biggest question is all the trouble you went through for the Williams Sonoma going to make a difference flavor-wise? Kind of boring.
It hardly has any flavor at all. There's hardly any.
It's very plain.
It's very plain.
I mean,
You
like
know
super
what though?
plain.
To be fair though, when you look through, we left our oven on. I just realized we didn't turn the oven off. When you look through each recipe, it's clearly the plainest. Well, it does taste the plainest too.
It's probably the quickest to mix up real quick. But it's really does.
It's very, very plain. You don't get a lot of flavor in it at all. You do taste the green bean, and you get the texture of the green bean, but there's just not a lot going on in there.
No, and I'm really disappointed that you get these soggy kind of onions in there too.
Yes, I agree. So to be fair, we forgot one small step.
Out of all these recipes, it's easy to do.
It's easy to do, yeah. So we forgot, once you put on the Frenches, once you put the onions on, you are supposed to bake it an additional 5 minutes. We forgot to bake it 5 minutes. Honestly, I don't think 5 minutes would have made much of a difference.
Now, it may have, I mean, I don't even know in 5 minutes it would have even browned
I
up.
don't think it would have done much of
anything.
anything. 5 minutes goes that quick.
Yeah, it's not
And
much.
I don't think it would have done much, but we did forget to put them in for
I don't think it would have
5 minutes.
increased the flavor of that any.
No. Okay, now we have Paula Deen. Paula Deen's, you put the onions in it, but then you put cheese in it, and then you put cheese, the cheese on top. So this one looks like you would mainly taste the cheese.
And the mushrooms too, you can use fresh mushrooms like we did for the Williams Sonoma. It would probably increase that mushroom flavor quite a bit too. I like that you definitely get the texture of the cheese for sure. You taste a lot of that cheese too, don't you?
You do, but you also taste the green beans.
Yeah, you get the green bean flavor. I like that. I like it with the cheese.
I like that quite a bit. It's kind of like when you make broccoli casserole. You're mainly getting the cheese flavor, and there's some green stuff in there, so
Yeah,
you
I
can
get the,
call it healthy.
I get the onion flavor too.
Yes, you do get the onion flavor in there. It still isn't near as strong as the Williams Sonoma.
No, the Williams
onion.
Sonoma was. And I was afraid the Williams Sonoma you wouldn't be able to taste those shallots. You can. It's
Yes,
very strong.
that's the number one flavor in the Williams Sonoma is those onions.
Mushrooms and onions.
Is the shallots. Okay, the last one is from All Recipes. This was definitely the easiest one to make because you're microwaving almost the entire thing except for what, 10 minutes? 10 minutes it's going in the oven, but everything else is the microwave, so it couldn't get easier than that. Okay, let's see. I'm getting a big one.
I got a huge bite.
You know, I think I'm surprising myself here because no, I think it really surprised me that some of these recipes did not take the entire can of onions. But for my opinion, I think when it comes to green bean casserole, less is sometimes more because I like between the All Recipe and the Paula Deen, I actually like the Paula Deen more than the All Recipe. And when I was betting, we were making these, and I told Kevin, I said, I think my favorite is going to be the All Recipe because you use the entire can on top, and you're really going to taste them. But out of these two, with the ones with the cheese, I actually like the Paula Deen more because you do taste the cheese more.
I do too. And the Paula
You
Deen,
like the Paula Deen more too out of those two?
The Paula Deen one also, it seems long because it had you cooking green beans. If you already had green beans like in a can, I don't think you have to do that step at all. Like boiling the green bean for 10 minutes in the chicken broth. I don't think you have to do that at all. You just do it. I would get fresh mushrooms for that though.
I think fresh mushrooms would make a big difference.
But the best one is the Williams Sonoma.
The Williams Sonoma. It's the best one here.
I mean, by far. I mean,
it's the
not
best
even
one here.
close.
So.
It's a lot of work though.
Well, but, what you want to do is, you know you're going to have it for Thanksgiving dinner, the green bean casserole. So what you're going to do is you're going to go ahead and you're going to cut your shallots up. A big part of it taking a long time for us is because we're doing it all right there at the same time. You can go ahead and do the whole shallot situation, fry them and everything, and have them ready to go.
Yeah, just put them in a Ziploc bag.
You can do that a couple days. You don't even have to do it the day before. Do it a couple days before.
Let them cool off and then put them in a container.
I'm trying to think of what could you do before to...
You probably don't want to saute your mushrooms and stuff beforehand.
Okay, but you can at least that doing the shallot part is, it's going to take you use oil and it just uses up time and cutting all that. That will save you a load of time if you've already got those shallots deep fried and ready to go.
My only complaint about the Williams Sonoma is the onions are very, very strong.
They are very strong, but
really, like you said, the green beans are just there to add bulk. It's
they
really,
are. The
really
star of the
taste
show is the onion and the mushroom.
Yeah, and if you don't like mushrooms, of course, you would never do any of these. Probably.
No.
The worst one was the French's.
I agree.
Which is the same recipe, by the way, pretty much as what's in the can of the Kroger.
Yes, it's amazing that they use the same. It's pretty much, the only difference I can see with the Kroger and the French's is the French's has you add the onions in and bake the onions in the mixture. The Kroger has you wait until it's all baked and then add them at the end and then bake an additional 5 minutes.
Yeah.
But you're not putting the onions in the mixture to get wet.
At all.
It is, if the French's recipe is definitely, without a doubt, the plainest. And
it's also it's not necessarily the quickest.
I don't think it's the quickest. I think if you're going for the quickest, if you want to whip it up on Thanksgiving Day, use the one from All Recipes.
And it's not bad. It's just...
It was good. It just, it wasn't as good as Paula Deen. Mm-hmm. But now, it was easier to do than Paula Deen.
Really, the only thing hard about Paula Deen's was you had to cook your onions and your mushrooms.
Okay, so let's do our order. My order, fourth place, last place is the French's. Mm-hmm. And it's funny because when we did the blind, we didn't do it blind, but when we did the taste test, theirs were the worst onions anyway. Didn't like them. So this would be the worst recipe. And then
it's kind of plain.
It's plain. But then I'm going to say number 3 for me is All Recipes.
I agree.
Number 2 is going to be Paula Deen, and number 1 is Williams Sonoma. So it is a little fancier, but it's worth it.
And we did canned green beans too.
Yeah, canned green beans.
We didn't blanch fresh green beans like they were saying. Just get canned green beans.
Yeah. I think Paula Deen would probably have liked for you to use fresh green beans, and Williams Sonoma definitely wants you to use fresh green beans. But just know you can absolutely do their recipe with canned, and nobody's gonna know.
And the 30 minutes in the oven was plenty long enough to heat up all of them fine.
Yeah. So now we have plenty of green bean casserole, not only for us, but for the family. Luckily family members like a green bean casserole because there's going to be plenty to go around. But it'll be fun to let them try them as well.
We'll give the French's recipe to the people we don't like as much.
Yeah, the Williams Sonoma that's all going to stay right here. Nobody else will get to try that because we'll be finishing that. But I hope you enjoyed the video. Feel free to leave your comments below, and thanks for watching.